Well, we can't really even call the meeting to order if we don't have a quorum, so.
Unofficial meeting.
We have an unofficial meeting.
Okay, you're live.
All right, so we'll go ahead and start with introductions for the record. Tim Stroschein, I'm with the Area Plan Commission.
Anita Whirling, Mayor of Delphi.
Jaretta Tinsman, Clerk Treasurer, Town of Flora.
Pete Wagner, Town of Camden.
Jake Adams, Carroll County Economic Development.
Yep, and I'm Aria Steiger, Area Plan Commission.
And empty chairs are bound.
Okay.
So since we cannot have an official meeting, I guess we can still do reports and discussions, right? So.
All right, I guess, yeah, we'll start. Traffic counts are the first thing. So we have the proposed 2022 traffic counts. I sent those out to the committee, I think some weeks ago. I think I did get some responses from some people, which is good. I can pull it up on my screen here as well.
Yeah, no worries. Are we still, did I miss my editing time? I had flagged the email to get back to you. I had to check on some things. Are we?
Oh yeah, no worries. We're still making changes here.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give you all more time, so I sent it ahead of the meeting so that you could have more time to prepare as well.
Yeah.
So again, every year we do traffic counts for Carroll County. We do 65 counts, hopefully every year. COVID doesn't stop us. Our counts are on a 3-year cycle, so we take the same stations every 3 years. Now we have some historical data to compare against. We do change up the stations based on whatever projects or planning efforts are ongoing, so we can change them up every year, and we do. The counts in front of you here are mostly the same as 2019. I made, I think, just 2 changes. I think they were both in response to the truck route in Delphi here. So I think I added one at Washington Street for the truck counts, and I think also this one I added is not here near Mill Street. I think those are both unusual for this year's count cycle.
Well, that's encapsulating Peters Industrial.
So it'd be 9th Street on around.
Yeah.
And that's before they can turn by Hallwalls, right? So that's right across the tracks, roughly.
I can't remember exactly where the railroad tracks are. I thought they were closer to the intersection here.
Well, the railroad tracks are in
Just north of
town,
that, right?
Right.
No, I was
Which
talking
tracks
about
are
the
you-
US Aggregates
U.S. Aggregates.
tracks. Would that be the north side of that blue dot?
Oh, up here.
Yeah, so if that blue dot is right there, and this would be Man Chevrolet, we'd want to make sure that that was far enough back that it captured northbound 421, because there are trucks that are frequent that back route, and that road is not in the greatest condition, but I would be afraid that it only caught southbound or whatever traffic. So we're talking about a really small urban set, like it's a small street and a lot of trucks. So when you go to when that's going to get placed, we'd want it, there's railroad tracks, the US Aggregates used, and then you might be able to go further, just a little bit farther north, and then that would capture any traffic out of both those industrial sites.
Yeah, I think that's where we have it placed. I think it's just north of that.
Yeah, okay.
Just barely there. I'll check and make sure though.
Yeah, just small things that could change it.
And you're getting Armory Road, is that correct?
Army Road is not in this year's cycle.
Okay.
So we did last tech meeting have somebody suggest Army Road as well. So we might move the count to Army Road for this year. Get
And the
some
last
speed
counts
there.
were done in June, so when the school is not in session, which is not extremely helpful to us.
Yes, so we can schedule, when does the school year end here?
Anything before May.
In the May.
End of May, okay. So we'll do our best to schedule that count for
Okay, that
during
would
the
be
school
helpful.
year.
Because, we're not capturing all of the students who are using the road, or the teachers, or the buses.
Yeah.
So it's,
I mean, they're like our 6th largest employer.
allowed, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if that was a, you know,
Yeah,
production facility, that's what kind of traffic at its peak, and you guys were on the call with NDOT, so, yeah, just that peak is really high,
yeah.
so.
For sure. Yeah, so we'll definitely, I think, probably move account to Armory Road then for this year.
Thank you, that would be great.
Um,
And I see that if we could capture that traffic there probably isn't a lot of traffic going on from US 421 onto 200, but it would be useful to have that so we can compare it as that area that now looks like a big,
on this
you know,
side,
it says Riley Road and it's just sort of vacant up above that triangle and up above.
oh, yeah,
That's the area that was sold.
Yes.
Probably begin seeing some development over time. And so if we had that intersection captured, you know, going on to 200 and then be able to compare that over the next cycle.
okay. Yeah, I know NDOT takes some counts along here as well.
Okay,
So usually we don't count the same roads as NDOT does, just so we don't duplicate data.
sure.
But I think they're gonna count that station again this year, if my memory is correct. So they should have fresh data for you, but I can check and make sure.
Yeah.
So,
Did they mention that in the meeting yesterday?
They talked about
About-
doing traffic counts, yes.
Yeah.
They were a little non-committal as to when.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
they said, you know, well, maybe we'll try to make sure it gets in this year.
Yeah,
yeah, it's,
yeah,
Never
that's,
quite
that sounds
sure.
right.
like,
Little-
yeah, my memory is that it's been a couple years since they've taken counts here,
Yeah,
so.
okay.
So if you all didn't have any other suggestions for projects you know that are upcoming or areas you want to study, types of traffic you want to study,
Is Old 25 still in Dodge?
Yes.
I think so,
Okay.
yes.
And they don't have any, when's, oh, I can look at it.
They do have a station. I think their station is down here somewhere.
Okay.
But I mean, the road doesn't have any access anywhere, so it could be anywhere along there and it'd be the same data, so. Yeah, there's definitely an NDOT station on there.
I'm trying to think of anything else that would be for Delphi at least.
Mhm. Yeah, the blue dots are the ones we're doing this year, the upcoming counts, and the red ones are ones we take in other years.
Okay.
So, like on Army Road, we count that in other years, not this year cycle. But, you know, with traffic, with roundabout potentials, we can count it earlier if you want that data sooner, so.
It would be helpful to have it sooner if we can get it during the school year. If it's during the summer again, it
Yeah.
won't matter this year or next.
For
or
sure.
The year after, but it may matter sometime after that.
Okay. Yeah, and if you want to look at the other little towns, Florida, nothing in Florida this year.
Do you want anything in there, Doretta? Is there any area where you think?
We don't have anything major going on right now, you know, so I can't think of any area that I think would need to be.
Could we possibly put one on 3rd Street, right next to the chiropractor place?
Like
I mean, that
Where
is
the
just-
truck,
yeah,
go back
I
to
mean,
the
that
truck
is
wash?
just just to get a number, to kind of see,
Yeah,
that it's just, it's.
yeah,
tore up.
3rd Street goes back to the truck wash.
Is that like around here, south of Division Line Road? Or is that,
Yes, so it'd be on the south side of Division Line Road, 3rd Street, so basically where the D is in 3rd.
okay,
It's probably a good spot, or a little bit further back before Adams Street, there on the left, you can't see it, but it's there. Yeah, just, the road is 4 foot wider on both sides from truck traffic. So it's like dirt from the shoulder being rubbed clean.
jeez.
And, yeah.
I would guess where that, these chairs don't slide on this traffic. I would guess where this is probably pretty close to Elizabeth Street, which is where the truck wash is.
Okay,
Or is that the trailer? No, that's out of town. That would be by, Bill
This is
McCarty.
probably the trailer court, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So then it's probably back up here farther than, because it's right across the street from the trailer park,
Yeah.
the truck wash is.
So I would probably go as far north on 3rd Street as you could without getting to that 421 entrance, because the goal would be to capture everything that's filtering into 421 right there. So, and you're talking.
421?
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Division.
Yeah, we know what you meant.
18.
What?
The big
Where's
road.
421?
18.
About that project, they're moving it.
Hey, all right, it's all fixed.
I didn't know that that was in there. Yeah.
Yeah, so 3rd Street and Division Line, State Road 18.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely move something there.
Ding.
So many roads.
Okay. Burlington, it looks like we are counting this year, so,
Yeah, Mill Street cut through is probably a good one.
yeah, we have that one. And I think NDOT covers State Road 29, so,
Would you be against putting one on 500 on the west side there?
like here
Yes.
somewhere.
Yep.
I can take a look and see if NDOT isn't already counting it. They might be, I don't remember offhand, but we could put one in. What sort of data are you looking for there?
Well, so we have a residential tip on that south section of that, so that white area just south of your arrow has been our tip.
Okay,
So if there is a development project, having the most recent data would just help.
okay.
If that's, it's just be something that we could talk about.
So you got a baseline anyway for,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and if there wasn't last year, then we certainly at least want one this year if possible. So.
Yeah, it looks like previously we've never counted that location from our office. I didn't show the NDOT count locations on here, unfortunately, but I'll check and see.
Okay. Yeah, that would just not the end of the world, but certainly a viable data point.
I think that probably the best way to proceed is we'll go ahead and send out an email after this meeting to try to kind of get maybe a formalized request. At the last meeting, Kent had mentioned there's a few sites that we have on the current map that Aria was showing earlier that we may have to remove due to construction, especially on the southern part of the county line on 800 South. So we do have a couple we could already move. But we do have a hard limit of 65 that we can take.
Sure.
So for some of these other ones, if we get, too many more than we can move from 800, we'll have to swap around a couple more. So we would be interested in hearing from both you as well as the technical committee about what the highest priorities would be and which ones to swap around. We would kind of probably like to have that finalized by mid-March so we can get the count started end of March, early April, so we can get some of these, especially by the schools, and
Yeah.
capture that traffic in those areas.
Yeah, no hard stop and not a huge priority, of course, so don't spend extra hours on whether it needs to be there or not. If I see it and it's not there, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll be reaching out later this week, so maybe tomorrow, Thursday, whatever.
Yeah, and I'll send out an updated map with some suggested changes as well.
Your email more triggered my action than created them, right? So I began to look through and actually compound those, so I apologize for not getting you a formalized response, but it triggered my exploration.
Yeah, as long as you were thinking about it. Anything in Camden?
Yeah, there was a few in Camden, Pete, like you had some.
I don't have anything in addition to what's up there.
I think we need to do 75 North again, because we might be going forward with the 75 expansion north of Camden. So just to keep, even though it's only a year old, I would probably just want to keep some updated stuff on that.
So where, like further
yeah.
off the map or?
Well,
like-
yeah, I don't know. You guys probably know better than I would. So we're looking at, we're presenting to NDOT to get the 75 extension right here. So I don't know if we want to try to get up north towards that exit to kind of see what that exit's doing for us, if it's a main thoroughfare. We do have a project that just purchased land. It's like an agritourism brewery that purchased right up here on 750. So they'll be utilizing that exit here in the next year or two for, that's how they're going to get retail traffic, and they've got some distribution as well. So
Retail, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like a brewery, so you would.
Yes,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
So, it's gonna be somewhere, you've been to Old 55, you guys ever be familiar with Old 55? Okay. So, anyway, so I think maybe even having something on that, on 50, just south of the Heartland, just to see how much that is utilized. So if we have to talk to NDOT about how, I mean, I think Pete, you probably were in the discussions, or Doretta, on keeping that exit open, and we're probably thankful it was, and not just,
What, keeping it open.
yeah, when the Heartland went through, just.
That interchange was not part of the original project.
Right.
And I have no idea how many meetings that were involved in that, but we had to get Federal Highway to change the record of decision on it and so forth, so it was a major deal getting it switched. But they actually moved, it was originally to be on Meridian Line Road, which didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
So, and Town of Burroughs got involved too. They were wanting a second exit up there, and wound up a meeting in the courthouse, and we had a negotiated section. We supported them putting the second. They didn't object to moving the funding and so forth. It was with the one that was already in the plan, which was beyond Meridian Line Road. They moved that funding over and lined it up for 75.
So yeah, I knew there was a history, thank you.
Yes, yes.
And I think if we can get an accurate count of that, because I think one would end up probably ask about any upgrades, if it's going to be a 75, like a true state road exit onto the Heartland, that they would, if we have a number, then we know the financial impacts of that. If we can just say, hey, it's not used much and you don't need to do anything but just connect 75 to it, or it's used a bunch and we might want to think about, you know.
Yeah, just a little history. The 75 extension out there was originally to be part of the Heartland project. But in the rush to get the record of decision approved, when Mitch Daniels became governor and he had some extra money, they jammed it through without that being included, that everybody was involved with the coalition and so forth that supported it. They, including mayors from Lafayette up to Fort Wayne and so forth, they supported getting 75 extended out there, and they supported getting this interchange put in as well. So the figuring was if they put the interchange in, eventually the road would get there.
Yeah.
So like they started
You build it, they will come.
they built a bridge out in the middle of nowhere over Cass County at one time, over the Wabash River and so forth. And that's how then they finally got the Heartland moved over there. So, yeah, there's been a couple times that they thought they had an earmark funds to make that extension out there. This was back when Joe Donnelly was a congressman, I think. And it happened timing-wise. They got it through the House Transportation Committee, and I think maybe even through the House. But that was when the Tea Party first came, and there was a big drive to eliminate all. We weren't going to have any more earmarks, and at the last minute they pulled all the earmarks out of the transportation bill, and so it got yanked out, and so it's kind of languished since. But
I think we're pitching in. I think the state has some millions unallocated right now for transportation or for infrastructure. So we're hoping that they're going to fish this project.
Well, it'd be nice. But
So that kind of just to give some back brief, I think that would be if we ran out of dots, that might be a priority, and just making sure that north side of 50 got covered.
Yeah, I mean, if you can send me a list of your like priorities,
Okay.
then that will make it easier for me to know which ones to go with here. Yeah, Monticello area is different years, looks like. County suggestions there.
You said red is.
Red is not this year, that's other years. So we do take counts of those red dots, but in different years. So those will be
So
either
we
1
can-
or 2 years old for data. The blue ones are for this year.
I'm gonna write down 950.
Okay.
White Oaks has been developed pretty thoroughly this year. And they see hundreds of cars now that they didn't see back when it was even 2 years ago.
Interesting.
So it's an RV resort and beach.
Oh, yeah. I was looking at the crash data out there recently. There were not that many crashes previously, but I don't know what the news counts.
It's gonna get busier. The county went through and did, I think, all the, what do they call it, to go into the road, the drainage. So, and all they did was just they didn't resurface 950. So, I would imagine that having up-to-date data for that might entice the county into doing that. So I wrote that down, 950.
Okay. And what's the name of this little town? Can't remember offhand. The unincorporated
What is that?
little, I forget the name offhand.
400 South, it's Cutler.
I was just saying that Cutler?
Yes.
Yeah. it's good.
So we have some nearby, but none along State Road 70. I think NDOT takes 75, so we don't do counts along there, but
Covers Adams Mill pretty well.
yeah.
Yeah, that would get out of smell for sure.
And that's it. So I'll take your comments under advisement and make some changes.
Yeah, I got 3, I'll email them to you.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it for me for traffic counts, unless anyone else has any other questions. All right. So next up is the transportation plan, I think.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start on that one. So last time, we kind of talked about getting the public involvement survey for the goals and objectives up and running, which we did. And initially, we had very, very few responses. I did check earlier today, and we were up to 67 total responses. I would kind of like to aim for 100. This is kind of like a benchmark. I think at that point, that would be, where I would be pretty comfortable doing some analysis of the responses, and I think that would be.
I'll have my full board do it next week. How about that? I'll make a requirement of
I've already done it.
So I am admittingly so, I've not carried it as heavy as I should. So I will, I'll just flesh it out to our board members and have them participate so that
Did the chamber push it out, do you know?
I sent it along. I believe they have on social media. It might have been just a one-time, the chamber's better equipped for that than we are, good or bad. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So one other thing we have kind of seen with the data that I think is good is that we've seen a pretty even split between people in the urban areas, people in the rural areas. We've seen about 55% in the urban and 45% in the rural. So that's good to see that we've gotten some representation from both.
Okay.
So we continue to track that. But yeah, so we're 67. That's 2/3 of the way to our goal of 100, and we're hoping to have something ready for you guys by the next quarterly meeting, so we can kind of move this process along. So that would be our goal.
Okay.
And once we get enough responses, I can do some data analysis on the responses and kind of do some scoring, I guess, so to speak, where we evaluate what the best results might be, and then I can send that around. But yeah, so we're hoping to have that together by the next meeting would be our goal for sure.
Okay.
So that's one element. And the other element, which unfortunately I think we don't really have much good news about, would be the demographic data. So Aria, if you want to go ahead and say where we are with
Yeah, so the American Community Survey data from census, I haven't seen any 2020 data from them because of COVID. They're like, we didn't get enough responses. The responses were skewed towards the rich and the housed. So that's the latest news I have that I've seen from census.
So I have not pulled it, they have the sub-county data
Do you get it
available.
somewhere?
Yes, it should have dropped in January.
Okay, because I was looking again earlier today before the meeting, and I cannot find it.
Yeah, let me dig in on that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, obviously we've got the county data, but the sub-county data we do not, I haven't seen it widely published. I think that they're still wading through it.
yeah. The last I had seen was that these one-year estimates for 2020 were only for certain regions. And it didn't include Carroll County. So I couldn't find on their new data finder
Okay.
any data from them. So,
Yeah, let me be honest about government laptop a little bit.
yeah.
So obviously, unfortunately, we're kind of at the mercy of them releasing this data. There's pretty much really nothing we can do
Yeah.
other than wait.
Right.
But so we're hoping that we do see some positive movement on that. Yeah. So I guess we'll maybe wait and see if Jake can find us some information real quick.
Yes, yes.
About Phil.
Yes, that'd be here at 7 o'clock.
Been a crazy day today. Is it Friday yet?
Can be. If it snows real hard again.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, we had that e-learning for Thursday, Friday, and just, it's been
What?
madness.
I was in work
Yeah, we're supposed to get a little more, but
Thursday,
not much,
Friday.
right?
Weren't you?
Snow, or what?
I'm leaving for the Bahamas on Saturday, so
Oh.
I really need to know if you heard something about
No,
a lot of snow.
I was talking about snow before.
Oh, before, I thought you meant it was coming in this weekend. I'm
No.
like,
Just make sure you're out ahead of it.
just get me out of here on Saturday morning. And then it can snow all at once too.
Well, that wouldn't be very nice for the
I know,
ones
that's what I
left
would be.
behind.
Be really happy with me. They plow snow and he wouldn't be real happy because his dad's gonna be gone.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I saw it said flurries or something
Yeah,
for
we do
Thursday and
have
Friday,
some.
but nothing, I'm not worried about that.
Flurries, I think, mostly.
You may have to not wait on me to get it, but yeah, MC didn't let me pull census data through, so I happened to browse the web, so let me. Are you guys, Tippecanoe County's appealing?
Oh, for the data. I haven't heard about that, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that most of the college towns are all filing a testament to. Maybe I was on another planet.
They are releasing some 2020 data, but it's only for certain geographies, is my understanding, which doesn't include Carroll County. I think it's like bigger cities or something, I didn't look, so.
Yeah, we need the sub-county, right? We've got the county data, we just need Delphi, we need,
We need the tract level data, basically, yeah.
yes.
Or any community survey data from, American Community Survey data from 2020. Because currently all I have is the decennial census data and the redistricting data from.
Well, the decennial should have sub-county level, it shouldn't be in ACS, was my thoughts.
Yeah, there is, I'm clicking on here.
You're far more versed than me from the origination of the data. I'm more of a extrapolating, baloney it.
Yeah, the decennial census is mostly kind of high level, you know, race, sex, population. What I really want to get is like vehicle ownership,
Oh,
how many
okay,
vehicles
okay,
per,
okay,
all the really detailed data that is useful for
okay, then that's my fault.
transportation projections, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're on.
So,
I have not seen that.
yeah, so I think it's the same data I mentioned in my email before. We have 2020 for population, for employment, and then 2019 projections from 2015 for all the more detailed
Okay.
vehicle ownership or driving to work or,
And then the 2020 reset, okay.
yeah, so that's the best data we have currently. And I don't think Census is going to release 2020 data based on their news release. It sounded like to me they're not going to be doing the release experimental estimates for the 2020 data for the 1 year for some geographies.
Because
And
of responses.
The other thing was the rolling 5-year estimates. I haven't heard anything about either. So this is also still stuck at 2019 instead of 2020 data. I haven't seen the 5-year updates, so. We may be stuck with the older data, I'm afraid.
So this is another thing that we're gonna try to just keep moving, because, you know, we can't wait on
Yeah, we
this
can't keep
forever.
waiting on
Sure.
Census to give us newer data.
Well, we tried.
We did. So, yeah, I think that's all I have for the thoroughfare, or transportation long-range plan.
All right, so then next up would be the 18-month letting list. So we have a couple of projects that are supposed to let tomorrow on the 9th. Both of them are bridge projects. We have one on State Road 18, one on 421. So we are kind of watching those with bated breath, as we are for projects all around the state. You know, we've heard that a lot of projects are coming in over bid, or over, excuse me, the bids are coming in over engineers' estimates, sometimes by about as much as 33%. So this has been very, very significant. It's, you know,
Yeah.
it's a problem in the Crawfordsville district, it's a problem here, it's a problem really all around the country. So we're not 100% sure how that's going to be addressed everywhere, or what we're going to do about that. So that's something that probably is going to be a lot on how NDOT kind of decides to handle some of this stuff. You know, when you have a major economic situation like we do, where you're getting this crazy inflation, you've got to kind of figure out a way to deal with that. So we'll have to see how that happens. It's, you know, something we're all dealing with. And then other than that, so for the rest of the year, we do have several projects on a March letting, again, mostly bridge projects, and all on State Road 25. And then that's kind of it for this fiscal year. Everything else is going to be within the next fiscal year.
Yeah.
So the March lettings are the last planned lettings for this fiscal year for Carroll County. At our last meeting, Jackie Hockaday from NDOT did mention that NDOT does want to get the 421 resurfacing project going as well. So that did not show up on this list for whatever reason. Not quite sure. We just pull this data from our sources and we get what we get. But she did confirm that they are hoping to do that, especially because of the type of asphalt that they're using. It takes a long time to get that process going to use this certain type of cold mix asphalt. So in order to keep that on time, it pretty much needs to go in this fiscal year. So kind of the good side of that is that means it should be a pretty high priority, so that even if some other projects don't get let, at least for that project, it hopefully should get let because of these design considerations.
Well, and they're trying to sync it up with our project here, the 421 expansion. So, yes, it's good to know that it's not because our fear was that the timing wouldn't be right, they'd have the shoulders built, and then the goal would be just to not come in and overlay and just keep on going. So it sounds like if it's gonna be a priority, then we have a little more control of syncing up milestone and making sure all the construction work's done prior to their coming in to overlay.
So she did specifically reference that project at the last meeting, so just wanted to make sure that you guys are all aware of that.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, other than that, I don't have too much to say about these projects. You know, most of them are all still currently on the safe lettings, but again, we'll have to just see how bids come in compared to the engineer's estimate and how that all shakes out.
Is this closing the bridge? I mean, how do I know? I'm an amateur here. So these are just lane restrictions for these bridges, or what will these look like?
Yeah, so for a thin deck overlay, they can often do it, you know, one lane at a time, depending on how many lanes there are on the bridge.
Okay.
So if it's, you know, a multi-lane bridge, they can close half of it. So it'll be restricted flow.
So like 2-lane, they would just flag or the autonomous now. I've seen the nobody's running the stoplight kind of deal. So, okay.
Yes.
So I think the only one I noted was north of Flora. It was between Camden and right where the S curves are. That bridge is on this list. So I don't know if it was going to defer traffic down 100, or you know what I'm saying. If it closes specifically, we would need to at least address it with the county commissioners or someone on traffic patterns. That's a fairly plus with all the German Baptists and everybody that horse and buggy that travel that road, it would be a considerable out of the way for them. So if that is the case, and you think these are just lane restrictions, then we would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, these are all NDOT's projects, so people should be on top of the maintenance of traffic, stuff like that. So they certainly should be in contact.
With local?
Yeah, that would be their standard operating procedure, yes. All right, well, that's all that I had on that item, unless there were any other questions.
All right, questions? I got a comment, I guess, at some point.
Oh, go ahead.
When I responded to Diana Trader about coming, I attached a memo and a couple drawings to it and so forth, and I was hoping she could help get those distributed. But it has to do with the concept project that's on State Road 75 south of Cutler. It goes over the middle fork of the Wildcat and so forth. But anyway, I've got a memo pulled together with a couple drawings and so forth, but can she help get that distributed to the members of this committee and to NDOT, or do I just need to do it myself?
Yeah, we can do that.
You can do that. This came to me from three landowners, I guess, that live over in that area that would be directly affected by this concept project. It's a bridge replacement on 75 over the middle fork of and it's slated for 2026, but they've got HWC Engineering is already working on it, and the people that are directly affected by it have been contacted by them, and they all went, they cannot believe they're wanting to do this. But anyway, they got, one of them knew I was on this committee and wondered if, I could help get some information to them. They'd like for them to reconsider what they're thinking about. But in a nutshell, it's...
Is this where there's a historic bridge also?
Well, it's one that was classified as historic because it was built with no rebar in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've driven over it 13 times in my life, and I never knew, and I could care less about what the hell it's built out of, as long as it didn't fall down.
You're not
I mean, it's right, but anyway, they're talking about putting a swag in 75. I mean, it's a straight shot from Cutler out to 26. And they're talking about putting and to bypass that bridge and put the bridge in a different location and so forth. Well, the people who are affected, there's 2 new homes being built there right now too, and nobody along there is happy about it at all. So they can care less whether
I
it's.
know where it's at.
I know where it's at.
I know where it's at now, so just almost the county line, almost.
It's right.
700.
750.
750, just south of Bordner's there.
Right, 750 right there. There's 2 new homes being built right in there. Well, anyway, I just pulled together some of the information they gave but anyway, I guess they did an inventory of bridges for, here, I don't know, fairly, and there was 2 bridges in the state that were built this way that didn't have any rebar in them, and so they think that's worth keeping for some reason. To you or I think it would look like, some old concrete that's crumbling and so forth. But anyway, they're wanting to put a swag in a state road that is currently straight.
It'll be a traffic calming.
They're going to spend at least twice as much money. You're going to have to buy land and.
You said HWC bid on this, HWC's got the lead on this,
Mhm. Yeah, it's,
O'Brien.
Jake Eisenberg.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
and
you-
Jackie Hockaday,
Okay.
those are the 2 contacts I was given on it so far.
Because I knew that Commissioner Brown was working on the bridge over Deer Creek, the iron bridge, because they were gonna replace that, and I think he's convinced them to go ahead.
I think this either has a nomination for the National Register, or
Okay.
it's I don't know that it's been submitted, but it is in the works.
Well, they're gonna leave the old road in there as a parking area for people to go visit the historic bridge or whatever. Or then they said, well, it could
And this is right here on 75, just like random.
Huh?
I'm like you, I've driven over it 100 times and
Oh,
never
yeah,
thought about it, that was even a bridge, actually.
No, that's
I
why.
thought it was a bit of culvert.
Yeah, I would have thought it was a
But
culvert,
anyway,
but it does have a thing on the side.
and they were trying to say, well, it was a recreational project. There's not enough water in the middle fork of the Wildcat to have any recreational use. And so most of the neighbors say it's just be a place for people to park that want to throw trash or go up and down the creek and cause problems, so they don't see a reason for that. But I just cannot, all the effort they went to on Highway 26 to straighten it, they had a jog in 26 there that was just east of Rossville, where it came and jogged over. Here now they're going to create another one on 75 to preserve an old something. So anyway, I was just, they would have to have, as I understood, they'd have to have a public hearing later this year if they move ahead with this. But the local, they're not going to get any positive input from people who live in that area. That's all I can say. So.
Well, that'd be a great place to stop once 26 becomes 4 lanes to Kokomo, right? Just got kidding.
I couldn't believe there were no more changes. As long as 26 was closed, I could believe there were no more changes than there were to it. Like they straightened that one curve and they made the shoulder a little wider,
I
but
think the elevations were the same.
They set the utility poles back.
yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing. And these 2
And they did put guardrail along that deeper ditch that I
Oh, that
always thought.
used to be terrible.
Yeah,
That old
yeah.
jog in there, and you had deep ditch on both sides and so
Right.
forth. So now they're gonna basically create the same kind of thing here on 75 if they do it. So, I guess I was just passing along negative input from
Well, at the next
particular
meeting, I
people
can
living
pass
here.
along some positive input, how's that?
Yeah, so, anyway,
How is that? I don't even know how it's possible, Pete.
huh?
I don't know how it's possible from this aerial.
There's houses
Here.
on either side
There's
of
houses
it.
on both sides.
I
So
don't-
now there's 2 new homes being built on the east side.
Yeah, and then that, and then Gibson's have the little place across the street from that.
And Mumford's around.
And then the Mummets are just south of that.
I guess my question was, can Diana get this distributed to people on here, or can you do that, or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can send it to the
Anyway, so
distribution.
that was my kind of goal, I guess, today.
I'll try to
there
get
you
some
see.
information that could be sent along with that.
Of all the things that need to be done,
Why
they're
it's-
spending time and
See where
money
the
on this.
drawing, where,
Oh, wow.
huh? And it, I mean, it would take a considerable amount of fill work to go in. I mean, it's low there on one side where they're talking about putting that through, so.
Sure, we're trying to straighten 75, aren't we?
The crook at it, I mean,
I mean, you already got your 2 crooked spots just
Yeah.
north of Frankfurt. I mean, you are transportation people, I mean, what are they? Who wants the bridge? Why would this happen without local?
it was designated as because of the way it was built by someone felt that it had historical significance.
It's part of the Historic Bridge project. And, you know, that we have probably more bridges in Carroll County registered on the National Register than almost any other county. So this is one of their, I don't know what the status is of the nomination, but I can sure find out.
And who, like, I guess they're gonna do.
You remember Paul Brandenburg? He lived here? Well, do you?
I remember the name.
Yeah, he's, I think he is the head of the Historic Bridge Coalition. And, you know, they don't just, you know, do bridges of Carroll County. That sounds good. That could be a book.
I pointed out in my memo that this was during World War II. But a much bigger example of that was the Rolls-Royce plant, used to be the Allison engine plant in Indianapolis. And that entire plant has no rebar in it. And it was all built on cement pilings, and they had a wood roof in it. And it continued to be used down there until just the last few years that Rolls-Royce has been. But they didn't preserve the whole damn building, so you could.
I'm not a preservationist, so.
So the plan is to keep the bridge and just have it as a visiting
As a
site.
tourist attraction, probably.
I
Interesting.
mean, I never knew.
A lot of
about
people visit Cutler.
Huh?
A lot of people would visit Cutler just to see.
Yes, they probably would. I have no idea, but I mean, until I built the Heartland, that's the way everybody from Camden went to Lafayette all the time, then went over to
Yeah.
26 and in and so forth, so I've been over that bridge, I have no idea how many times, but,
I didn't even consider it a bridge.
I thought it was
There's the rail bridge that's no longer there from the Monon, or not Monon, but from
yeah,
the rail commission corridor,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to Frankfurt.
so, okay, I'll count on, someone getting this distributed, and then I will try to distribute it myself, so make sure that NDOT sees it, I guess, but anyway, people over there were concerned enough about it that they were trying to talk to anybody they could, you might be able to get them to reconsider where they're going, but it's a 2026 project, I think, and I understood there'd have to be a public hearing late this year if they want to have something, so that's all I got.
All
Yeah,
right.
thank you for passing that along, Pete.
I don't have anything else.
That's all that we had on our agenda, but we wanted to just double check and see if you guys had anything else that you'd like to bring up that we've missed today, or that's,
We appreciate you spending time in Carroll County. If you don't get to visit very often, we hope this committee allows you the opportunity to come here and frequent our establishments and enjoy the hospitalities. So, even though you are getting paid to do it, we'll take who we can get.
You're per diem, then we can,
You're crowding our herd, you're responding to emails, we may be delayed, we may be whatever, but we all can gather when needed, when necessary. So we appreciate your patience.
We'll try to get a quorum.
Yeah, we'll try to, yeah, I think the goal was the quorum. The goal was to, yeah, this meeting kind of stinks up on me sometimes, so I gotta be more, told you I gotta make it a priority and get, I don't know, one of the things that I wanted to talk about long-term planning, like 20-year, 30-year planning, is 26 corridor and the possibility of 4-lane expansion for 26. So I had conversations in 2015 about the long-term funding for a road for that project, or at least some studies, figure out the feasibility. And we lost a little bit of steam with NDOT. It was, the government was trying to do the 10-year NDOT, like 10-year infrastructure planning and funding, and they kind of pulled us out and said, let's talk about this in the next go around. But with all the infrastructure talk, I didn't know this would be an area for you guys, obviously being from Tippecanoe County and having that be a big priority for you guys on the east side of town. And what that would mean for connectivity for the region and getting them connected to Kokomo. And what it could mean for possible locations of it if it's going to run parallel to the old 26, even if it's necessary, right? What do we need to do to make that conversation worth looking at?
Yeah. So since we're talking about something that's likely several years out, that would be a good thing to include in the long-range transportation plan that we're conducting. You know, one of the important elements of that would be potential future projects. So stuff like that would certainly be appropriate. And then, you know, as that would develop, then at some point you'd want to do some kind of, you know, feasibility studies, maybe a planning environmental linkage study. You know, there's all kinds of different approaches you can take for the engineering part of that.
Would you guys be interested in participating in that to the benefit of Tippecanoe County?
We would have to talk to our highway department about that, but my initial guess would be that, you know, that would probably be something that they would support. It would just be my gut feeling.
When I talked to Mayor Moore about it in Kokomo, and just like a lot about like connecting the two communities, where State Road 26 it has more traffic than the Heartland, and it's 4 lanes. I mean, at least the counts I looked at in 2015, the Heartland was relatively new, but it was pulling in 9,800 or so, and we're talking about 12,000 or so on 26, and it was, you guys, we all know, right? That is a treacherous pathway, and you've got 2 really large, like, automotive hubs of Kokomo and Lafayette, so to be able to bring them together logistically, getting Lafayette better access to the east, and obviously you got the Heartland, but just getting that access east, and then vice versa for Kokomo to get access to 65, I think is something what Mayor Moore was talking about, is we can send them up 31, but they're working on getting it limited access, but to be able to get direct tie into 65 from the west would help their supply chain and some of their, you know, their growth as well, so they can, because they just don't have that unless they're going all the way up north and then cutting across on, what's up there, 24 don't work because it runs south a little bit, but you know what I'm saying, just, so yeah, a long-term, long-range plan, that would be something that we would love to talk about, because if we're not at the driver's seat on that, we might be a passenger and right where it goes, and because we talked to Frankfurt, and Frankfurt would want it on the south side if it runs parallel, or if it gets built out, and then where would it be in Carroll County if it fell on the north side of 26? That would impact us greatly, and all the.
Didn't they set the utility pole back with this latest project far enough that you could add 2 more lanes in there?
We got told that project was, even 5 years ago, that they were going to do that, and that they were going to make provisions for, not provisions, but just more in consideration of adding shoulders and getting safety first. That was the premise of getting the shoulders on, and I think they'll finish up the shoulders.
I thought they were putting turn lanes, like, so that it kept the traffic moving, and then there would be turn lanes to go off of these other places, but the only turn lane is there at 75.
Yeah, I think that they just did the half shoulders, and they didn't have time to get it all in, my understanding, and then they're going to finish the full shoulder in the spring. And then, yeah, so you would have kind of a turn on, but no dedicated turn lane.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're probably talking 15, 20 years before that's even a possibility, but I think the Heartland.
I won't care then. I won't be able to drive anymore. 20
long gone.
Well, that's why I like having the conversation, because I will probably
Yeah.
be here and be part of that.
It's not a new conversation. I worked in Kokomo for 30 years for General Motors when it was,
Okay.
and they were talking about it then, you know, I mean, this was back in the 70s, you know, right? We had a lot of people living in Lafayette that drove Kokomo every day and so forth, and that road was
They
hard.
finally finished 69, so you know, things can happen.
Yeah,
That's true. But I think we would have good consensus between Kokomo and Howard County specifically, and Carroll, depending on if we were in the driver's seat and getting your folks on board. That way, nobody's just one person's pulling the rope. We're actually all putting this on either the governor's desk or NDOT's folks and say this is something that this region can connect us in 20 years. And so, yeah.
Yeah, getting that to a planning document would be a great first step for sure.
Okay,
All right.
well, we can agree to leave. since we can't-
Everybody just wanted to get us to 4 o'clock and not 4:01, so we were good.
We should go to 4:05 since we started.
We're scheduled for as long as the meeting takes, I think,
All right.
so.
that was Franciscan that called me, they were wondering,
Making sure you were coming
maybe
tomorrow.
make sure they'll be there in the morning.
Oh, boy. You know, that prep is worse than the actual event, so I do not envy you.
One second.
Getting fixed up tomorrow?
That cold possibly.
Oh, fixed up is probably the
Yeah,
right word.
so I'm starving today.